All right, welcome back. Here is part 2 of every Fox body that ran through the auction block at Kissimmee, January 2019. This is part 2 because I didn't have enough room on part 1 to upload the video. Enjoy, like and subscribe. Here's a red 89 GT convertible, automatic car, red on red. They estimated it to go between 20 and 25,000 is what Mecum says, and it only sold for 12.1. So, you know, a lot of people think these Fox bodies are going for outrageous prices in factory condition, but that's not always the case. I mean, that car was a no reserve car, so it was going to sell, and it only brought 12.1, which is that's a good deal for the buyer in my opinion, and probably not for the seller. But you know, it's not a super rare car, 26,000 miles. It's all bone stock, so that ain't too bad. But that's what you're going to bring on those, you know. Here's a Cobra in the Performance Red. 505 speed, of course. It is 8,400 actual miles on that car. Yeah, that's a low mile. That's low miles for a 1993 car, no matter who you are. You know, we all know what they look like under there. But it sold for 38.5. That black one or the teal one we just saw did not sell at 31. So he obviously knew that these cars are bringing better money than that, and the other one was 29,000. This one's 8,500 miles, but this car sold for 38.5. So there you go. If you got one of these low miles, you might not want to drive it if you're wanting to ever sell it. If you don't want to sell it, you want to drive it, hey, do that. Mine. I'm not worried about mileage. Mine's beyond that point. But there you have it, 38.5, and it sold for that price. All right, here's a 1985 SVO, which is your Turbo 4 car. Let's look at the outside. This is one of sage green, and what's crazy, sage green is one of the rarest colors of all the Fox bodies. It is the code 4E. This car is a 51,000 mile car, original 5-speed car. Of course, all the SVOs were like that. They had Coney shocks. They had, you know, this is the all original car in sage green. You know, it's super rare color, and I think there's probably more sage green SVOs than there are actual non-SVO Fox bodies out there, because that green is a really rare color. But it sold for 12.1, no reserve car. So you know, I think the car would be worth. I would have went 17 grand on it if I was the owner and I had I'd put a reserve on it, but he went no reserve, so it sold for $12,100. Here is a 7-Up car. Now these cars are tricky. A lot of people own them, think they've got something super duper special, and you know, every Mustang's special to its owner. But a 7-Up car, this one brought $8,000 is all it brought. If you'll remember, what started this whole craze was back at the Barrett-Jackson auction. This car, one of these cars was a wrapper car, which means it had never been drove on the highway. It had, you know, 20 to 40, 60 miles on it, and this car, that car brought $70,000 because it still had the plastic on the seats. Center caps had never been installed. It was a factory time machine, you know, straight off the dealership floor, or not even, some of them didn't even make it dealership floor. They came straight off a rollback from the factory. Somebody bought it, never drove it. Now that car brought 70. This guy couldn't even get 8,000. So I've seen cars around here like this. A guy was asking 18,000 for one of these cars with 100,000 miles on it. And I'm like, he's not going to get it. And he said, this is the exact car that sold at Barrett-Jackson for $70,000. No, it's not. The car at Barrett-Jackson's was a time machine that had never been driven. This car has 41,000 miles on it, believed to be correct. And it still didn't sell, and it only brought $8,100 or $8,000, you know. So these cars aren't that rare. There was 4,100 of them made. If you want a rare convertible, I would suggest the 93, the Canary Yellows. They made 1,500 of those. They made the red Springtime Edition. There was 1,500 of those, and then you got your triple whites 93 convertibles that they made 1,500 of those. Those are the collector car in my opinion, because there's only 1,500 of them and there was 4,000 of these made. So a lot of people think that these cars are now worth $15,000, $30,000 used. They're not. I mean, this one, $8,000, couldn't even sell it. You know, just don't be tricked because a car just like yours sold for a bunch of money. Unless yours has got plastic on the seats and never been driven, it's not going to sell for that. It's just not going to do it. Those cars are not that rare. Here we go. Here's a black 93 Cobra. We all know the details on those. You know, these are the cars to have. These gorgeous. This is a low mile car. $44,000 what it sold for. I like it. 7,800 original miles. One of 448 sold in that color. Yeah, this one here has paperwork. It's got all the sales brochures, certificate of authenticity. This car's been looked over. You know, everything's factory on this car. That is, you know, yeah, if you got one of these, this was a no reserve car, so, you know, if nobody was wanting to bid on it, it was going to sell for $20,000, but guy got $44,000 for the car. That's wow. I think that might be the most expensive one that sold the whole weekend at $44,000. Okay, here we go with a GT convertible, red on gray with a black interior. Yeah, this is that strawberry red. 25th anniversary edition is what somebody said. 34,000 miles. They're bragging one of 856 convertibles in wild strawberry. But 34,000 miles, and it did sell for $16,000. That's pretty good. That's about right. I think that's about spot on what you're going to get for them. Here's an 88 GT convertible, no reserve car, sold for $15,400. 5-speed car. That sounds about right too. Black on gray. 66,000 miles. You know, that's a good. I think that's a good price. The seller. That's about what I think that's worth. I mean, that shows the market value on these cars. You know, if you've got one with 60, 70,000 miles and it's all original, then yeah, that's about what you're going to get for these cars. They're not super rare, but whenever you keep one super clean and you don't do anything to it, that's supposed to be factory paint on that car. $15,400 is a good price. Here's another GT convertible. I mean, there's a lot of them around. This is a 1990. It did not sell. It got up to $8,500 on the bids. 38,000 miles. So yeah, it only brought $8,500 on the bidding block, and we just saw one right before it that went for $15,000 and did sell. And it had more miles than this one, but this one doesn't have the paperwork. It has welded subframe connectors, so yeah, it's not exactly stock. Somebody put that under there to make it a little stronger. But Flowmasters, so you know, there's a few little things that the buyers, they don't like. And you know, if you put the Flowmasters on it, right then you're not factory anymore. That means, okay, this car's been jacked up, somebody's been messing around under it, it's got stuff welded under it. So you gotta be careful on that too. So you know, $8,500 and the bid goes on. It just didn't sell, and it's a low mile car. Alright, here's a 89 GT convertible, white on gray with gray interior, 5-speed car. It's got an upgraded stereo, air conditioner works, there's nothing, no mileage report about it, anything. $6,000 the only bid it could bring, and like I say, there's no documentation on it. You can look at the hood, either the hood's popped or something's going wrong with that hood right there. I don't know what the deal is, but that could have scared somebody off thinking it salvage title car. It doesn't tell if it is or not. But it only brought a $6,000 bid, and the owner said, no, I got to have more than that. But, you know, he might not get more than that for that car. With the way that hood's sitting, I'm thinking there's an issue there. So there you go on that one. And then the last car I've got to do is a 79 pace car, no reserve car. $10,450, and it sold for that price. That's a 5-speed, or 4-speed car, excuse me. 5.0, it's got the houndstooth seats. It is one of 10,000 produced. It's got pace car graphics, you know, so this is pretty much it doesn't have mileage. That's why this car sold for only $10,400. I think the proper car, I may be wrong, but you know, I'm not an expert at it, but I think the right car with low miles, under 5,000 miles, this car right here, I think could be a $25,000, $35,000 car easily if it had the mileage, but it only sold for $10,400. No mileage report, and that's the last one that hit the block on the entire weekend.